My early work indeed was black and white, and that essay I did on the Italian after Robert Frank, the American. I was shooting at that time with a Leica M2, and I was using a wide angle, quite a wide angle, 21. You could shoot very quickly without focusing, because of the wide angle, everything is sharp from 1 meter to the infinity. Using that lens and that camera give me a lot of flexibility and permit me to work very quickly, and catching things. I don't like big cameras, and I try to be very light when I work. In that image, indeed, you have a kind of similitude. You have in the middle a beggar. It's one of the oldest streets of Napoli, and you have two little girls who look a bit like twins. What is strange sometimes in photography is when you have repetition of silhouette in the composition, and if you look, your eye discovers many details. I like also images which are very simple composition. Of course, luck plays a major. Luck is part of our luck, may I say so. I have been maybe 20 or 30 times traveling in Morocco, shooting photographs, doing books on various cities. So Morocco is one of my favorite places, but in parallel to that, I'm doing many other projects. I just published a book on China. Another one is in preparation on Turkey, on Istanbul. And I must say probably these three places, which are in three different parts of the world, have in common. Places where, for example, the Turk, a fantastic historical culture, the Moroccan also a fantastic one, the Chinese, 4,000 years old. So I like to go in these places because there are countries where modernity, globalization is coming, but still they manage till now to keep their own tradition and culture, especially in Morocco or in Turkey. The Chinese have not much respect. They destroyed all their old cities in Beijing or Shanghai. They will regret one day, but still they have a fantastic past. It is fascinating for me. In Morocco, there is still places where people are very poor, and the tourist with a camera is hoping to make some money by asking money. So I don't like this kind of relationship. So when you photograph in Morocco, you have to be like a fox, which means shoot very quickly before anyone realizes. I never ask permission to take pictures except for portrait. Because if you ask permission, the situation is destroyed. People are not anymore natural. So, or you steal the image, like we like to do, but still respecting certain rules, or you have to spend a lot of time, which this is my technique. I will spend 5 or 6 hours in the corner of a street, start to speak with people, and then they forget, and then they ignore me, and then I can shoot natural scenery. It's quite a challenge to shoot in Morocco. I know many photographers who consider themselves as a war photographer. I never want to have that, I'm not a war photographer. It's true that in this situation there is something very special. During the Gulf War, when I was traveling, with this 400-500 oil rig burning, and the sky was dark, and you hear the noise of the rig, and it was like apocalypse now. In the meantime, you see this GI coming with their Humvee passing. But it's dangerous to photograph only war photography because you can become a bit cynical about death, and you have not any more dimension of things. You see so many cruel situations. So I try to stay aware of these things. Well, in '68, it happened that I was in Paris. Strangely enough, French TV was on strike. Can you imagine? The biggest strike, millions of students in the street, 10 million workers, all the factories for a few weeks were blocked. And at that time there was not so many photographers in the street, and I was shooting with no flash. I did not know much how to use the flash, which is in a way a good thing because I shoot with natural light. Sometimes the pictures are slightly out of focus, but you see the surrounding, the flash sometimes is like thunder, it's too an aggression. Of course, what was strange is that 68, at that time, France was, there was no unemployment, and there was much more serious situation like Prague with Soviet tank in the street. But the youngs, they wanted to have more freedom, more sexual freedom. French was very rigid at that time. And of course, one of the main motivations was all over the world, the Vietnam War. The Palestinian, really at the beginning I was very touched by their condition of life, so indeed by publishing my stories I tried to help them by making people realize their condition of life in this. So there is a commitment. It's nothing new. I mean, Cornel Capa, he had a group of photographers. One of his first exhibits in ICP was the concerned photographer. I don't think we can stay outside. It's a very tricky situation, photographer, being war photographer, making comparison and making their own living and then selling prints. And it's a very tricky question. But yeah, I think indeed one should have compassion on such situation. I like also very large composition where you see multitude. And there is one image which shows how the church in Poland is strong and finally managed to kick out the communists. It is a huge pilgrimage in the Calvaria, in the Carpat mountain, where you have hundreds of pilgrims during the Holy Week. At Easter, and it was snowing, and you had this thousands of pilgrims with the umbrella on the snow. It's one of my memorable images. Obviously, the major change is because of digital and website, and if you work for this magazine like National Geographic at that time, you had to send your Kodachrome film, because we always use Kodachrome for conservation, because it's a film which is very stable and which, if you have humidity, the color will be still there. This is why we have all these color prints from the 60s where we were shot in Kodachrome. So at that time, sometimes you don't see your work for 6 months. But today, the big change, is that every night, instead of having good dinner with your friend and a good bottle of wine, you are in your bed editing till 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if it is better, but it's very exciting to see your work step by step every day, thanks to the new technology.